Hey everybody, this is Brandon Ford and welcome to another TV edition of the Blind Rage podcast. This week it is Tales from the Crypt, Fitting Punishment from Season 2. And this is episode 12. I'm sure I don't have to tell you by now where to find these episodes if you want to watch along because they are everywhere. But just in case, just go to YouTube. And as always, I'd like to encourage you to please go to Amazon.com to check out my books in both paperback and Kindle editions. Just type in Brandon Ford in the search engine and my titles as well as my author page will come up. You can also find my titles in audiobook format by going to audible.com or opening the Audible app and typing in Brandon Ford. You can also follow me on Instagram at writer Brandon Ford, or if you'd like, you can email me directly at blindragepod81@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, suggestions, recommendations, or ideas for episodes of Tales from the Crypt or any other shows I've done thus far, or any other shows, period, that you'd like me to do. Like I said before, I don't know when this is going to be posted, so because they are never linear, they're all over the place. So yeah, I can never be too sure. So, but yeah, there are some other shows that I've been thinking about doing, but I want to refamiliarize myself with them before I do so. But anywho, on to Fitting Punishment. So if you want to watch along, feel free to have your episode queued up because we are going to begin with a 3 count. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, play. So I'm using the DVD. This is season 2, which they didn't have the opening title sequence in the beginning, unfortunately. We have the Crypt Keeper playing basketball with some skulls, which is always a good time. And so this is Fitting Punishment, starring Moses Gunn, John Clare, and Teddy Wilson. Moses Gunn has been in a ton of stuff, a lot of TV. Teddy Wilson has been in pretty much every fucking thing. If you've watched TV, you've seen Teddy Wilson. He's been on more shows than I can count. John Clare, interestingly enough, who plays Bobby, has been in a lot of teen stuff, either in supporting or background, or small walk-on roles. But he's been on Saved by the Bell. He's been on 90210. He's been on some sitcoms, but horror fans will know him from the one and only classic of American cinema that is Children of the Corn 3: Urban Harvest. And also, I don't know how to say this without sounding racially insensitive. So I'm just going to have to trust that you don't believe I'm being racially... Well, I'm not being racially insensitive. I'm just pointing out what is. And according to John Clare's IMDb resume, he was in a lot of stuff that either he had to do with basketball or his character played basketball, including this. Even though he doesn't play basketball, he comes in or he gets out of the car bouncing a basketball, and his character is known as an athlete, as a basketball player, even though you never see him play. But yeah, I think that is I don't know. It's always good when an actor gets work, but it's never good when an actor gets typecast, I would say. And what's also interesting about this episode, few more interesting things about this episode. For one, this is the only episode of Tales from the Crypt that is centered around an entirely African American cast. I don't know why that is, but yeah, there are no another. Good thing that this is a good one. There's Teddy Wilson, who was playing the organ. Um, Also, this episode was directed by Jack Shoulder, who directed everyone's favorite installment, and I mean that sincerely, of A Nightmare on Elm Street, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Well, it's not my favorite. I love it, but I don't think it's my favorite. But in addition, this episode was also co-written by Don Mancini, creator and screenwriter of the Child's Play series. So, yeah, there's a lot of interesting trivia about this one. So, yeah, this is Fitting Punishment, and this is one of the episodes that have a person who is unjustly, I was going to say unjustly wronged, but isn't that an oxymoron? But then again, aren't I? A character who is victimized, who comes back from the dead just because. And that's what happens to the Bobby character. Spoiler alert. Bobby's a good kid. He's a nice kid. He's a quiet kid. But his mother, after his mother passes away, he has no other living relative. So he goes to, and this is really sad. How he's begging this asshole to stay, to let him stay. Ezra, Moses Gunn, who plays Ezra, he's quite the asshole. And honestly, I think that he is one of the most hated characters, at least in my opinion, of all of the villains in the Tales from the Crypt series, because not only is he mean, but he's mean to this poor kid who has nothing and for no reason. And because the actor who plays Bobby, John Clare, is so nice and sweet and soft spoken, you really feel sorry for him. And Ezra is a character who cares about nobody except Ezra. And I think Moses Gunn does a really good job pulling the character off. And yeah, and then you got the scene here where he pulls the tooth out of the dead body, the gold tooth, which is despicable. And he gives this poor kid a slab to sleep on. A fucking slab. And he says thank you. See, that shows us that this is a good kid. Electricity costs money. Everything fucking costs money. Electricity, you're not allowed to turn on the lights. You're not allowed to use the water. You can't even have a bed. And the only reason why he lets this poor kid stay with him, it has nothing to do with his being his nephew, is because he sees Bobby as a free employee. Unfortunately, that blows up in his face when he cripples him. And religious man that Ezra is, I know I saw this episode when it first aired on HBO, but I think that this one is one that I saw more in syndication. Because I remember it being very, very heavily censored. And I don't know why, but I always remember the scene where Ezra cuts Bobby's feet off to make him fit in the pine coffin. And you see the blood spray from the circular saw in the TV cut. The screen falls into a black circle, or the screen is encircled in black rather. And yeah, but it's pretty fucking grisly. And this poor kid is giving nothing but flack from the second he walks through the door. Everything costs money. Chemicals cost money. A penny saved is a penny earned. And he's always giving these cliches and Bible scriptures. Oh, I forgot about that one. Oh yeah, I remember because yeah, he said Abraham Lincoln said that, and he got smacked for it. One thing that always used to crack me up about this episode, and it was because I didn't understand, but when I was a kid and I used to watch this episode, and a lot of it had to do with Moses Gunn's delivery, but when Clyde quits, Clyde being Teddy Wilson, who plays the organ and helps deliver the coffins to the cemetery and etc. Um, uh, he's so fucking mean. But after Clyde quits, he says that he's quitting because after Bobby dies, he says, I know that nice young man didn't fall down the steps a second time. I know it. I can't prove it, but I know what I know. And, he's telling Ezra, I know you killed him. And that throws Ezra into a bit of a rage. And as Clyde is leaving, he screams at Clyde's back, get the hell out and stay out, you pervert. Which I always thought was so fucking random for him to just call him a pervert. But then it took me a while to realize that the Clyde character is supposed to be homosexual. There are some very, very subtle hints, but he's supposed to be homosexual. And that's why he said that, because Ezra is a Bible thumper. You're about as stupid as your mama. That's a good thing to say to a kid who just lost his mother. See, all this stuff is why Ezra is such a fucking loathsome character. I think... Oh my god. I think that... And that was the second time he did that. I think that it's supposed to be suggested that Clyde's character is supposed to be homosexual because of his affinity for music and playing the piano. And I think that Ezra kind of sees that as being effeminate. I can't imagine having to yes sir, no sir, such a fucking dickhole like Ezra. This is a very important scene here. 5'6". And the coffins. He even cheats the clients. This Ezra, the Ezra character. He got a coffin that was made in Taiwan. For somebody else. And the coffin that he does, the pine coffin that he does get, that they do get, that ends up being the wrong one, the pine one, because he's supposed to order oak, and they sent pine. That one is very, very cheap looking. Uh-oh.
thanks, Uncle Ezra.
You stupid half-wit. You ought to open that pine.
Who, Mr. Jeffries?
You know what this is going to cost me? You got any idea? I'm going to have to pay for that damn pine coffin.
But, Uncle, I told you oak.
Don't you lie to me, boy.
I'm not lying, Uncle. I swear to God, I told you oak.
Dare the Lord's name in vain.
Oh no.
Now you're going to have to be punished severely.
Uncle, please.
Ah. Oh.
Help me! Get up, I said! We got work to do!
My leg.
The hell with your legs! Get up there! It's no good!
For saying I swear to God, he got hit 3 times with the crowbar. I guess he fractured his spine. Yeah. There it is. He'll never walk again. That's fucked up.
His own intelligence, I'm afraid. He fell down the stairs.
Fell down the stairs, you fucking scumbag.
Times, no running inside. He's a spirited boy, you know. An athlete. Not anymore.
And why is the doctor who just came to look after him, why doesn't he say, why is this kid who just fractures his spine sleeping on a slab? Could we get him a bed, maybe? A little bit. Nice one. Maybe even a cot or something. And then after all this, he fucking sells the poor kid sneakers.
House yet.
Uncle Ezra?
What you want, boy?
Ezra!
Don't you Ezra me.
Where are my Air Jordans?
I sold them.
You sold them?
Got a pretty good price for them, too.
How could you sell my shoes?
Don't you raise your voice at me, boy. Look at you. You're nothing but a helpless cripple. What are you going to do with shoes? All you're going to do is cost me money. You're nothing but a goddamn burden.
Well, you should have thought about that before you hit me with that crowbar.
Yeah, I remember the look on Moses Gunn's face, like, you know, he realizes for a second that
Sheriffs, huh?
this was his
Where's
fault.
our next? State hospital, that's where. Right there with all the rest of the cripples. Those shoes are going to go to waste just like that damn pine coffin. You ordered.
Oh, you're an evil son of a bitch. See, as I said in an earlier episode, I wouldn't say that there are a lot, but there are a handful of episodes of the show that have this supernatural element that comes in as an afterthought, and the lead character who is wronged comes back from the grave to seek vengeance on the one who put him there. And I think that the Bible might have something to do with this. I don't want to read too deep into it because this isn't a show that had very many complexities, and I'm not I don't want to say shitting on it because I was trying to be a little more eloquent, but I hate this part.
What are you doing, my ball?
Oh, fuck. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I'm not knocking the show for this, but for not being having a lot of subtext and complexities, because it's not supposed to have some subtext and complexities. It's supposed to be fun, but it does hinder some of the episodes because some of them make them seem rushed to a certain degree, and because Ezra is such a Bible thumper and is religious zealot who quotes scripture all the time, and you know,
He's not wanting.
waste not, want not. There you go. But then when Bobby comes back as a zombie, he still uses his crutches, by the way, with no feet. Um, he still uses crutches. And he's got the crowbar. But what he says to Ezra right before he hits him with it is, like it says in the Bible, blood is thicker than water. So I think it had some sort of religious component. Perhaps. That's just my assumption. I don't know. Yeah, he's cutting his feet off. It's so fucked up. He really, really has a cold fucking heart, this guy. And that's why I think he's one of the best villains in the show. Because to do these things to this poor kid, it's horrible.
No, I thought it was. Damn fluoride.
Strange how he should happen to fall down the stairs again, isn't it, Mr. Bonkenberry?
Yeah, it is.
For the best.
I think that's the doctor again.
He would have made a miserable cripple.
Such a short coffin for a boy so tall.
Yeah. Glad you noticed that.
What you want, Clyde?
Bye, Mr. Thornberry.
The hell you think you're going? You got work to do.
I ain't doing nothing. I'm quitting. Look, I know that nice.
I like when he says I'm quitting and Ezra just waves his hand like good riddance.
I know it. I can't prove it. But I know. But I know.
Then good riddance. You know I'll come Oregon freak. I don't need you. I don't need anybody. Get the hell out of here and stay out, you pervert.
Well, he said something about Oregon. I don't know what the first part of it was, but he said something Oregon, something Oregon freak. Yeah.
Who could that be at this ungodly hour?
And what else I think what always creeps me out too about this episode is the way everything is so desolate and bare, and it seems, even though he lives in the city, it seems like it's very remote.
What do you want, you goddamn hooligans?
Like this part here when he's looking at the door, and you know he's in the city, but it seems like it's at the end of the earth, and you got the background of the with the thunder rumbling to signal or signify, or signal bad things about to happen. And everything in his house too is bare and scrubbed clean, and not that everything being bare is not everything being bare and sanitary is necessarily a bad thing, but it just seems so depressing with the way he lives and the way he is so set in his ways, and how he expects others to follow suit if they live under his roof. You do as I say.
Turn my lights on, Clyde, wherever you are.
He thinks Clyde's messing with
Ready
him.
for your job back? Well, then you can go to hell.
That light fixture, I remember, is very, very dated. Now we're gonna have the ball.
Trying to scare me, Clyde?
the basketball.
I got news for you. I don't scare easy. Takes a lot more than you
Using
think, that's for sure.
a ball to unnerve someone is highly unoriginal in a horror movie or a horror TV show, especially a ball coming down the stairs. That's been done a million times. It works here, though, because, you know, Bobby was a basketball player, and the ball was one of his prized possessions, as were his sneakers. And he gets them. He gets those back too. That's right. You see the sneak. I forgot about that. You see the sneakers. The sneakers are walking on their own. So yeah. And Ezra just took a nasty tumble down the stairs. And his legs aren't working. So we have that tiny bit of irony there.
I can't bend my legs. Oh my God.
I hope you don't expect us to feel sorry for you, Ez. Uh-oh. I think maybe the sneakers moving on their own might have made this a little unnecessarily comical. Because I don't really think that there isn't really much comedy to be had or seen in this particular episode. It's very dark. And then we got things like, you know, mainly child abuse and then child neglect and child murder. So this really isn't a laugh riot.
Well, looks like old Ezra learned raising a teen is no walk in the graveyard. Now he's going to need one of his cheap coffins for himself. That's what he gets for having a name like Ezra. As for poor Bobby, he got a pretty nasty case of athlete's foot, didn't he? I mean, I've heard of footloose, but yikes! Oh well, I guess the next best thing to make
He says "oh well" a lot
cool.
in his outros. Crypt Keeper. Okay, that was Tales from the Crypt, Fitting Punishment. I want to say thanks, as always, for staying with me to the bitter, bitter end. And there will for sure be more Tales from the Crypt episodes to be had. So until next time, this is Brandon Ford wishing you all unpleasant dreams.